How's it going, everybody? Got the 372 Ironhorse on the tailgate here with me. In today's video, I shot so much footage the other day. It was the perfect day. It was pretty calm. I was actually going to go cutting today, but the wind is picked up. I could cut today, but better safe than sorry, right? Especially I got a west wind and east leaning trees, so in that yard the wind is always blowing from the truck to the trees, and that's where back cut first is a good technique. A lot of you guys commented that you've never tried that. Only thing I'm going to say is know where your hinge wood is and cut accordingly. It's really easy to do face cut, back cut, but because you're cutting most of the tree in your back cut first, for me anyways, and again, I'm not a professional, just be careful, especially on trees that size. You might only be cutting the distance of the bar to do your face cut. So, but I got a lot of questions about that. And the reason why you do that is, think about what you're doing. If I do my face cut first on those trees and they're leaning, a lot of them were leaning about this far back. They're not heavy leaners. There's not a lot of canopy there, but still you cut your face cut. So now you've weakened the integrity of this side of the wood. The minute you sink that bar, and guess what happens? It sets back, and now you have a pinch saw. So the way I do it, I put the bar in plus about an inch if I can, set my wedge. Now I have full control of the tree, and it's not going to pinch my saw. Do my back cut, flip the saw around, and do my face cut. So anyhow, friends, this is all blue spruce. This stuff here, pretty tight grained wood. I would say it's medium cutting when it's dry. Green, it cuts pretty easy, but once it's been sitting dead for a couple of years like this stuff has, a little bit harder cutting. I knew what I was up against, and I sharpened an appropriate chain. Your chain profile and your raker depth is 9/10 of the battle, I would say. Anyhow, friends, this is going to be a straight up buck show. I really wanted you guys to see how this saw runs. This thing's strong, friends, and for any of you who were questioning it before, I think it was funny because I got so many comments about, wow, that saw runs. Remember, friends, he did not change the intake and exhaust timing by grinding the ports, okay? The only work done to this saw is go fast piston work, ring work, and transfer work, okay? And we're going to dig into this saw in a future video. I'm going to show you guys, I'm actually going to put a wheel on this saw and show you guys what the deal is with it. And that'll really make you scratch your head, I guarantee. It made me scratch my head because when we're porting, you guys have been online, I'm sure. It's all about either you got to do a ton of machine work or hog out ports. Well, this saw has none of those things. Why does it run so good? Think about that. Anyhow, friends, without further ado, 372 Ironhorse XP, straight up buck show. Enjoy. I'm going to jump in and out of this video. Okay, we're about midway through. I forgot to mention 28-inch full house. I believe this is a C83 Husqvarna chain that I've hand filed. Notice, friends, this saw has tons of change speed, good torque, and I could just stand up and buck with it. It goes back to idle quickly, which means it's not on the lean side. It's very snappy. Just a beautiful saw. When I'm carrying brush away, I can leave it in the kerf and just walk away. And what does it do? Nothing. The important thing, friends, watch the whole video. What do you notice about this saw? It runs exactly the same from the first cut to the last cut. Stability is what I shoot for as a saw builder. Building a saw that runs too hot, and there's various ways to do that. If your saw runs too hot, it's not an all-day work saw. It's just not. If they run too hot, guess what? When you go to restart them after refueling and maybe touching up your chain, the saw usually will get heat soaked and you'll have a hard time restarting it. So a saw like this, to me, you don't get any better. It's faster than stock. It's got more torque than stock. It's good on fuel, and it's just a reliable saw. I wasn't gonna fall with this saw that day. I brought my 572, but after running this thing a little bit, I thought, it's perfect, let's give her. And there you have it. It's just a good, reliable saw. Anyhow, I'm gonna keep showing you guys this thing bucking. Thanks for being here, and I'll jump in at the end. Okay, let's do a little stumping with this saw. Nothing wrong with that, eh, friends? That was a tank of fuel right there. Okay guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Let me tell you, I'm very impressed with this saw. This is how a work saw should be. I know we all watch online and people say, oh, you got to do machine work, or you got to widen the ports, you got to do this, you got to do that. You don't got to do anything, friends. I'm going to tell you that right now. What you got to do is build a good, reliable work saw, because at the end of the day, what are these for? Putting firewood in the truck, at least for me, or doing tree work. If you're building race saws, that's a whole other game. I don't play that game. At the end of the day, friends, could this saw have more power? Oh, for sure it could. But do you need it? I don't. I really don't, friends. This is about the perfect work saw for what I do. And even if the wood gets bigger, I know this saw will do the job if I do my job running it. So I'm very impressed with this saw. Friends, we're going to dig into this saw farther. And I'm going to put a timing wheel on it and let you guys know the numbers. I think this is an important saw for the YouTube chainsaw community, because at the end of the day, this thing hauls the mail and it's not ported. Or is it ported? What do you consider porting, friends? I know what's been done to this saw, and what's been done to this saw, good old-fashioned hot rod moves. Harvey's an old timer. He's been building engines his whole life. The old timers know things, friends. And what I find is if you get stuck in your little box and you can only, it only works one way to port a saw. For me anyways, if I just ported saws one way, my saws would get stagnant. And I'd keep telling myself that, oh, my saws are the best. Friends, I don't do that. If I build a saw that's garbage, you guys know if you've been on this channel, I'll tell you. And what I've learned over the years, less is more. The farther you go away from stock timing, the more chances you have of having a saw that isn't stable. It might run too hot, it might not idle, it might not tune properly. This couldn't be any farther from that. This is what a good work saw should be. So anyhow, friends, as you guys can tell, I'm smitten with this thing. Just a blast to run, and I'm going to keep running it. In the meantime, though, we will put a timing wheel on this. Maybe I'll put the old scope ski into the spark plug hole, and let's take a look at what's been done to this saw. Let's move on to question of the day. This one has a lot to do with this power saw. It's from Jasper Cooper. Jasper's from New Zealand. He has a 371 XP that needs a rebuild. I get these questions all the time, and I think I'm going to do a video on this question specifically. Today, I think I'm going to film it because I'm doing a similar project. Jasper wants to know, should he just rebuild? He doesn't want to port his saw. He just wants to rebuild it and have a good running saw. Says he does a lot of four-wheel driving in the bush, and if you guys have done four-wheel driving, a good chainsaw is a handy thing to have. He wants to know, should he go stock? Should he do a big bore, like a highway big bore or something like that, 52 millimeter, or should he try and fit a larger cylinder? He mentioned a 288. Now, that's a lot of questions in one. In that case, I would go stock 371. Find a 371 single ring piston. That's important. If you can clean up your cylinder and it's still good, I would run the 371 stock. Those saws are very strong out of the box. Weld up a good pipe for it if you can weld, and let it eat wood, and I think you'll be happy. Why would I go that way? Well, a 371 is such a strong saw out of the box. It's pretty hard to mess with perfection. And again, if you were going to port it, you could build something just like this very easily with, you know, not very much money, a little bit of time, and some basic work or hand tools. The 52 millimeter big bore is a really stout package. One thing he didn't mention to me, are you cutting big wood? If you want to pull a long bar and you're cutting large hardwood, which a lot of in that area, Australia and New Zealand, I've been told has some of the hardest wood on the planet, you may want the 52 millimeter big bore. You will get gobs of torque and mid-range power with those. And I have a lot of experience running the 52 mil big bores. All the boys that I used to cut with back in the day, they were running, you know, 372s, or at least one guy I was cutting with, he always ran a John Sered 372 or 3171. It was one of those with a 52 mil big bore. That saw was very stout for cutting hardwood. Lastly, do you want to mess around with putting a different cylinder on your saw? Well, yeah, that is a lot of fun. Friends, if you guys are thinking about, I get this question all the time, can I just bolt a bigger cylinder on my saw? Yeah, you can. It's a lot of work. It might take you 6 months to a year to get that saw running. Often bigger saws have larger wrist pins, so Now you have to build a crankshaft or find a combination that'll work. Also, you're throwing off your squish. You might have too much squish or not enough. The piston might hit on the bottom, and then when you get the cylinder fitted up, well, now you got to make a carb work. So I would say no. If you're looking at doing a job like that, that is level 10 on the build scale. It's a lot of work to make them work. You might spend 6 months fitting parts, fire the saw up, and have it blow up. So I would say if you're cutting big wood, go with the 52 mil big bore, like a highway, maybe with a pop-up on it. If you're going standard bore and you're not cutting giant wood, rebuild your 371, put a new piston and ring in it, and let it eat wood. Anyhow, friends, thanks for hanging out, and I really like this power saw. I got two 372s, well, 371 and a 372 on the bench. I'm going to be building them. This has really made me tweak my thoughts on what I'm going to do to those saws, so we'll find out what I'm doing when I get there. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.